Well, since you came here, you're probably here to learn something about this guy or the computer program called MFC Edit, which is the editor for configuring this device over here, the MFC 101 MIDI controller from Fractal Audio Systems. Fantastic device, very flexible, very powerful, solid as a rock, weighs a ton. So what are the things we really need to do with our MFC 101? Mostly, we need to control our XFX equipment and also sometimes control equipment from other manufacturers as well. This video is going to focus on configuring the MFC 101 for the XFX, though there are many more things you can control and do with it. There are so many things you can do with this powerful device, but there are 5 things that you'll do most often with your MFC 101 if indeed you're using it to control your XFX equipment. You're going to want to capture a sysx dump from the MFC 101. This is like taking a backup of the device and all its configurations. It's also something that's necessary to do in order to configure it using a computer. Unlike the XFX and the XEdit programs, the MFC 101 cannot be edited in real time. You do have to dump a sysx file or take a backup of the MFC 101, edit that file, edit that dump, and then send it back to the MFC 101. So after we've taken the dump, what are we going to do? We're going to configure our IA switches or instant access switches, of which there are 17 for controlling functions, effect blocks, and so forth in the XFX. You'll also want to configure your presets. There are 384 presets in the device. The other thing you might want to do if you do a lot of performance is configure your songs and sets. You may perform 20, 30, 40 songs at a given venue, and you would probably organize those into sets to make it easier, and many of the songs might use the same preset, but they'd have different song names even though they point to the same preset in the XFX. You'll probably also want to configure your external switches and expression pedals. So if you have a wah pedal or an expression pedal for controlling volume, or just using a foot pedal to control the amount of delay or the intensity or the duration of your reverb, these are external pedal configurations, and you can have up to 4 additional external switches connected to your MFC 101 for controlling whatever takes your fancy. When you're done with all that and all your configurations, you'll want to send this edited sysx file back to the MFC 101. You can perform all of these operations very easily from within MFC Edit, pretty much with a mouse click. We're going to show you that. So let's get right to it. To launch your MFC Edit, depending on whether you're on a Mac or a Windows box or a Linux computer even for that matter, you'll have an icon on your desktop in your taskbar somewhere. You'll click that icon and that will launch the MFC Edit program. First time you launch it, you're going to see this screen. If you look here on the top right hand corner, you'll see something called Extras is highlighted. All along next to it, you'll see additional tabs. These are like a spreadsheet. MFC Edit's organized much like a spreadsheet would be, or your browser, where it has tabs with many pages of information gathered together appropriately. The first one that comes up is Extras. This is where you set your user preferences, check for an update on startup. Every time you run it, it'll go and look for an update and let you know, and download the update if you want to. So you're always running the most current version of MFC Edit. Open the last file on launch, so on and so forth. So these are user preferences that are here. There's also a view errors button in case there have been recent errors or you're seeing some strange behavior. You can use the view errors to look at that. You can change the look and feel a little bit with the theme selector. The default is the Fractal theme, of course. If you take a moment, you'll notice that all of these tabs or pages are grayed out. That's because they're inactive, they're disabled, and that is because no sysx dump has been captured and no file has been loaded, so there's no data, no configuration to do anything to. At this moment, MFC Edit doesn't even know which model MFC 101 you're connected to, or if you're connected to one, it doesn't know what firmware revision you have loaded in your MFC 101. That's why it makes no sense to present pages allowing you to edit things when it doesn't know exactly which parameters are editable based upon the equipment and the firmware revision that you have. So obviously the first order of business would be to actually capture an MFC 101 sysx dump into the program, unless you've previously used FractalBot or some other program to capture the sysx dump onto your computer, in which case you could just go File and then open the file that you downloaded previously. For this demo though, we're going to say, okay, let's go ahead and capture one. So we'll go to Tools and we'll see here the second option, Receive a Dump from the MFC 101. This pops up a little window which is going to allow us to capture the transmission from the MFC 101. You'll notice it remembers things like the last file I captured into. In other words, as the file is captured, where do you want to store it? This is where I stored it last time. If you have multiple MIDI devices, they'll be right here on this list, and you can choose your MIDI interfaces that are connecting your MFC 101 to your computer. This little progress area over here, this simply gives you a verbose update about what's really going on, whether it's transmitting or receiving, and whether it's doing presets, is it processing songs, is it the sets or the instant access switches. That's just where there's a visual feedback on the progress that it's making. Over here you'll see we have a progress bar, and it'll show you the percentage complete as the transmissions take place. Open file when the download is complete. You know, to save you having go open file, navigate over to the file, and then pick it and open it. In other words, if I download a file, 9 times out of 10, that's the one I want to edit. So clicking this one just makes sense, which means when you're finished and you close, when the transmission finishes, you close this window, it'll automatically open that file for you. So why don't we actually go ahead and receive the file. So you'll notice what it's done here. It's given us a little help menu, and that's because not everybody frequently does a dump from the MFC 101, and you may forget the steps, and so you don't have to go hunting through the manual for the correct switch presses on your MFC 101 to initiate the transmission. They're right here on the little screen for you what to do. It basically says, after pressing the OK button below, follow these steps to start the transmission. So it says after pressing the OK button. Alright, let's press the OK button. It says press the edit switch on the MFC 101, press the setup switch, do these things. You can actually do all except the last step before hitting the OK button. So let's go and get this thing ready to go so that I have them in front of me so I can remember them. Alright, so I'm ready. All I have to do is press switch number 14, which is the enter switch on the MFC 101, but it says after pressing OK. So let me press OK. So here's another little hint. It says press enter on the MFC 101. So let's go ahead and do that. I just pressed enter, and you'll see that the transmission has begun. The progress bar is updating as the data comes in. Right now we're at 20%, and it's loading presets number 1, the first block of information for presets. When it gets close to the middle, it'll begin with presets number 2 and start capturing that information. There's the message. It shows you what it's doing. And if you look down at your MFC 101 equipment, the LCD display on the MFC 101 says exactly that it's sending the presets to. So the on-screen display matches and mimics the display on your MFC 101. Loading songs, in CCs. Okay, it's all done. At this point, if you look down at your MFC 101, it'll say sysx data dump. In other words, it's gone back around to where we started from. For the time being, I'm done. So I'm just going to say we're all good. We're going to close the window. Had there been errors, had there been transmission problems, we would have got a little pop-up saying we experienced this area errors, whatever. It will clear the buffer so you can restart the transmission. As I mentioned, it will automatically load the file because we clicked the checkbox. You'll notice now over here on the bottom left corner it says temp demo.syx, and you'll also notice that all the tabs on the top are now enabled. That is because we have the data that we can edit. Also, we know that right now the sysx dump that I captured was from a Mark III MFC 101 with running firmware version 3.6 or 3.06 depending on the documentation. So we've got the most current piece of hardware, the model of MFC 101, and the most current firmware as of the time I'm creating this video. Let's go over here to IA switches, which is your instant access switches. When we get over here, it's fairly straightforward. You can configure everything you need to configure that when you press a switch. All of these things can happen. We're not going to teach the MFC 101, but more likely the editor. You can change the names of these switches by simply typing in something that you prefer. These are scene switches, so you could actually call these scene 1, scene 1, scene 2, whatever you like. And if you don't want these switches to select a specific scene when you're in a preset and you would rather have this control the drive, we can find here's our drive 1 block. What we're saying now, we should change that name to drive, if I could spell, so that it reflects what it's really going to do. Now, in any preset that I have selected, by default, when I press the IA switch number 1, that's instant access switch number 1, it is going to toggle the drive block number 1 because that's what we chose. So it will turn it off or it will turn it on alternately each time I press it. It's telling us we want it to toggle. Our other choices are moment for just momentary. When we release the switch with our foot, it will disconnect. I'm not going to go into these in great depth here because that's teaching all the functions of the MFC 101, and we'll be here a long time if we start doing that. Send with preset, yes or no. If you are not in AXFX mode, or if you have selected these on this switch to be on when you load a specific preset and this is set to yes, it will send the on sequence for this switch. It will send it down the wire to the AXFX. Now the AXFX itself will remember the state of all of these effect blocks when you select that preset. If you want to do something special or different, you may want to change these switches. Otherwise, you should leave them at their defaults. Global, you have choices yes or no. Pretty simple stuff. You can send control change commands with every press. Every switch you press, you can send specific control change commands on specific MIDI channels, and you can send whatever value you want for on or off. There are 2 control change commands you can send for each switch. There are also program change commands on and off you can send for each instant access switch. And then there are arbitrary MIDI commands if you have some external equipment that's perhaps not fractal audio. Say you've got a Roland synthesizer or some other piece of equipment and you need to send it a specific MIDI message, you would enter the bytes of that message, and over here you can send 2 custom MIDI messages anywhere you like with each switch that you press. You can specify those messages. So it's very handy, extremely powerful. I'm not going to try to attempt to train that all now. Okay, the next thing you're going to do quite often is configure presets. Let's go over to presets here. We have our 383 presets here. We start counting at 0, so there's actually 384. You can actually change your display offset to 1, so it starts counting from 1 to 384 instead of 0 to 383. That's entirely up to your own preference. Here you can set up your switches per preset. So any settings that I make here for switch number 1, it's for this preset only. These are not global settings. That's only when I'm in preset number 383. If I move down to, let's find one here. Let's go to, why don't we go to 100? Then whatever I'm changing now is only for preset number 100. Now I'm going to load another file which already has some pre-populated data. It's actually a sys dump from my own MFC 101 that I use in live environments. So let's go do that. You'll also get to see that. So we'll say open the sysx file. And it does remember the most recently opened ones. So the 4 most recently opened files will be here for you, so you don't have to navigate for them. You can, by all means, just a regular like Explorer or Finder or whatever, go navigate to the file. It's already here. I'm going to say go open that. So it's loaded that. You'll notice that it's got Hotel California here already. Some of these are turned on. These are the foot switches, the IA switches that we described a little earlier. Some of them are on right away when you select a preset, and some of them are off. You'll notice this preset is called Hotel California. There are tooltips that will pop up to help you all the time. Mousing over these switches over here, it'll show you what it's actually controlling. We've got delay 1 configured on that switch. What's on here? I've got phaser 1 connected to that instant access switch number 8. I can go back here and look it up as well. Here's number 8, switch number 8. It shows me I got a phaser, but it's a nuisance to have to go back and forth between the pages. So when you're over here, you just mouse over, and it'll tell you I've got a parametric equalizer block number 1 over here. So these are the switches. These are the per preset external switches. It says per preset external switches. You'll notice I have one here. It's auto off. It sends control change 123. I can't actually remember what that one does, what I set it up for, but I'm sure it's configured for something in my XFX. Over here, I don't have any of my expression pedals doing anything for this particular patch. Let's dial it up one more preset. It says MFC 101. It's showing me here what the XFX preset that would actually be selected is Hotel Harmonies. So let's talk a little bit about the Hotel Harmonies in this XFX preset list. The names in the MFC 101, you'll see here, I've got these scene 1, scene increment, scene decrement buttons over here. You've got 7 characters to enter a name. That's not particularly meaningful. When you come over here to your presets, you're dealing with preset numbers, and these are MFC Edit presets. These are not XFX presets. These are presets in your MFC Edit and your MFC 101 pedal, which could be different. Typically and by default, there's a one-to-one correlation between the preset number in your MFC 101 and the preset number in your XFX. Not always, but sometimes. And by default, that's the state of it. You'll notice over here I say import XFX presets. I'm going to show you what that is, just so you understand what this means. It's so that you can deal with names that are actually the presets in your XFX. Nobody can remember 384 presets, let alone 736 like the XFX XL has. So trying to remember those numbers and what they do is nearly impossible. So this is a queue. It actually has the information from your XFX in it. So when you change a number over here, it'll show you what is actually going to be selected in your XFX. So it's a visual confirmation that you're getting what you expected. If you happen to want to change the name in your MFC 101 preset as well, that's not hard to do. You just drag it and drop it over there. Now the MFC 101 preset name is identical to the XFX. That's great mostly, but should you change the name in your XFX, you would still have the old name that you copied and pasted in here. Okay, let's just look for a second. I'm going to launch Xedit and show you how we get this information into MFC Edit, because it is important and it is very helpful. And move it to here where we can see it. Alright, so now we've launched the fantastic Xedit program. It's connected in real time to the MFC, to my XFX device over here. Now you'll notice it says crank tweet over here. If we go up one more preset, it'll reach out to the XFX and get the information. Here are all the blocks, so on and so forth, for this particular preset number 3 in my XFX. As you can see, there's a lot of them, and they have a lot of names. Really, you don't want to be typing all of this in. At least 384 of them into your MFC Edit program to get those names into your MFC 101. That's quite a chore. Fortunately, Fractal thought about that, and they said, okay, let's do that. Let's give them some tools, make this easier. So now we go to Tools. It says Export as Text. There are many things here that you can export as text file. Over here it says Preset List. Okay, so I'm going to select that. So okay, and it says preset names. So I'm going to say, let's call this thing Demo X Preset Names dot Deno. Yeah, if I could only spell preset names. And let's go ahead and save that. So now what I've done very quickly is I've exported all of those names, be they 384 from the Mark II or another AxeFX, or 736 from the XL model. All right, we're done with Axe Edit. I can close it down and go away now. So let's go and pull in the names. So now I want to say import into MFC Edit and my MFC 101 the names from the AxeFX. And what did we call that? Demo Axe Preset Names.txt. That's what we call it. Let's open it, and boom, it's pulled all of those names in. Now you can see those names in a number of places in the program, but if you just want to have them on screen for reference, selecting this option will actually bring up this list, and you can scroll through them and sort them and click on them and drag and drop them into other parts of the program and so forth. So here are the actual names of my presets from my AxeFX device. You'll notice here Hotel California. Here's the Hotel Harmonies that we saw up here. So now we have these names, and anytime we select a preset number, we don't have to remember all of these names. We know if I select number 124, it's going to select Psychedelic Duck. If I select preset number 193, it's going to go to my Victim of Love preset from a tune by the Eagles. All right, enough of that. So that's where that name is useful. It's a great cue to let you know what preset numbers are going to be doing when they reach the AxeFX. Here's a global preset, which can be the alternate preset. Again, if there are names for them, it will pull up the name here and show you that's the number. If that preset is selected, that's actually the preset in the AxeFX that will be selected. There are many more things here. I don't want to teach the whole program. Here are your instant access switches. You can turn them on or off with the click of a button, and these are per preset. The same thing for the internal control change messages. These are much like instant access switches. You can use them for sending, turning effect blocks and other things on and off, and sending messages on and off each time the preset is selected, but without having to eliminate, without losing a switch also that you can use manually to interact with during your performance. Here's your program change. On each of your 16 MIDI channels, you can, in addition, when you select this preset, you can send this. By default, it will send the number of the preset that you have selected on each of these 16 MIDI channels. You can turn one of them off. You can turn all of them off. You can say, hey, on channel 3, I have an offset of 1, so I don't really want 101 because of the equipment that I have on MIDI channel number 3 is pretty stupid. So I want to actually send it 102 on channel 3, not 101 like my other devices. You do have a powerful menu here, which is Show Nugget, which will bring up a little help menu. You can clear all the program change commands for all presets, clear them all for just this preset, clear all except the user input presets, so on and so forth, and do nothing. Won't delve into that in too much detail. Here's a custom MIDI message for this preset. You can enter any custom MIDI, valid MIDI commands here. When this preset is selected, this custom MIDI command will be sent provided that its length is greater than 0. It will automatically calculate that for you. That's probably all we want to talk about on this screen without going into too much depth. This is what we call a nugget. It's basically a context-sensitive help. Right-clicking the mouse on any screen, on any control, will pop up an explanation of what it's for in simple English. Oh, here's another feature that probably is worth mentioning. If you've, say for example, customized some of these things because you have a bunch of different MIDI devices, over there, for example, and we've changed our pedals to say get the initial value from hardware, use 93. And I also have an expression pedal controlling something I have here, beginning value on CC control channel 20. That's I believe is an external controller in the XFX, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure, but I have an expression pedal, and I want that on all of my pedals, or I want to have this switch and this hardware on a bunch of my different presets. It's a chore to have to go into 10 or 20, 300 different presets and have to set this all the time. So we have a little copy paste button. I configure this preset the way I like it. I hit copy paste, and now I can paste the changes to all of my presets. I mean, they all have these silly names, right? But let's say I want the same pedal, expression pedal behavior, and I want the same instant access switches, and I want the same external switch configuration for each of these presets. I could have selected all of my presets. I am copying parameters from 101 Hotel Harmonies, which is, as we can see, the one we have here. Now I can paste everything. So it'll take this preset and completely replicate it across all of the ones I've highlighted here. Or I can say, don't paste all. I want you to copy only my instant access switches, my internal devices, and my external devices. That means switches and pedals, and my program change. I don't want you to change the name. I don't want you to copy the name. I don't want you to copy the alternate preset or my custom MIDI message or my internal Cs. I just want you to copy those things. And if you hit paste, it's now basically gone into all of those presets and changed those parameters. For grins, this is called Hotel Harmonies. Let me see if I can find another one here. It's a little bit different. Let's just go with Hotel California, why not? And say, let's not paste anything except the name. And let's select that block, for example. I say go paste them. So it hasn't pasted any parameters that because I didn't select them. However, I did ask it to paste the name. You'll notice now it's pasted the name into each of these. It's also prepended a plus sign, which tells me that these have been changed by pasting them in. So we know that it's not the actual Hotel California, but a copy of the Hotel California name and or parameters that we had selected at the time. This is an incredibly powerful screen. You can do so much here. We'd be here a long time if I went into more detail. It's a very powerful device, and you can quickly go down a rat hole with all the things that can be done with it. We're going to move on to internal control changes. Remember these buttons down here, the NCCs? That's what these are here. If, let's say, number 4 over here, I'm going to call this Roland. And I'm going to call this one Korg, just for, oh, there you are, entered a name that was too long. Dope. Luckily, it does help for idiots like myself. So it says, well, I've got my Korg. Normally, by default, your XFX is on channel 1. You can put it on any channel you want, but let's say I've got my Korg on 3, and I've got my Roland on 7. Do I actually want to send an off or an on command, and which CC number do I want to change? So let's say let's send control change 30 to my Korg, and to get the desired effect that I want, I need control change 51 going to my Roland, the on and off values, whatever those are. Can set those here. So now anytime I select a preset, if I select internal control change number 4, it gets its information from here, and it will send this to the Roland. It will send control change 51 down MIDI channel 7 to my Roland. Again, a lot can be done with this. Don't want to bog you down in too much of that. Inbound program change map. The MFC Edit, the MFC 101 controller can accept program change commands from an external device. So it can actually, if you have a synthesizer or something else and you switch it and it sends a program change down, it will cause the MFC 101 to switch presets. Sometimes you have a preset number 20, for instance, on your Korg synthesizer. When you select it, you don't want preset number 20 on the MFC 101. You want it to select preset number 100 on the MFC 101. This is where you can create that map. So when you have your inbound, let's say what example did we use? We had an inbound value of 30 coming in, and we'll say which one do we really want it to go to. We want to map the inbound of 30 to go to 100, and we enter that here. So anytime the MSC 101 receives a program change command of 30, it will switch to preset number 100. XFX preset transmit map, this is sort of the inverse of what we just described above. It means when you select preset number 0 through 15, say number 10, we actually don't want to switch to preset number 10 in the XFX. We really want to select preset number 564, right? It says value must be less than 384 here. That is because it knows that I'm connected to an XFX2. An XFX2 Mark II doesn't have more than 384 presets. Had I been connected to an XL, then it would have allowed me to enter a number that big. So any number I enter here would have to be lower than 384 because of the equipment that I own. Basically, it says anytime I select preset number 10 in my MFC 101, it's going to select whatever number I've entered here. And you'll see I can go all the way up here, down through my presets. Anytime I hit MFC 101 preset number 343, it will go to whatever number, I can say 5. It will actually select preset number 5 on the XFX. You should probably not use this unless you have to, because you're never going to remember. If you cross the numbers over and they're all pointing all over the place, you'll never remember, and you'll get yourself confused, and you'll select a preset and something totally unexpected will happen, and the XFX will go to something that you didn't expect, and oh boy, that's a big surprise when you're live at a performance. Let's not do that. The songs page is a page I use quite often myself. You can enter into the MFC 101, you can store up to 100 songs. By default, they're all called, song 1, song 100 through 100. They're given numbers by default. I've given them names over here, and then these are the preset numbers that they select, that we've chosen for them. So you can enter up to 100 songs. You only have 7 characters, so pick a name that's somewhat meaningful for you. So like this would be Long Train Running by the Doobie Brothers, Fire Down Below, Take It Easy by the Eagles. You only have 7 characters, so you do have to abbreviate, but try to make them meaningful so you can remember what they are. So when I am in song mode or in set mode on my MFC 101, and I select this song, it's going to select this preset number 27. It shows me Highway Star. You'll notice that over here it actually shows me a much longer name. That is because when I mouse over, it's telling me that preset number 88 in the XFX is actually China Grove. Small Town here, this is a good one. This is a song called Small Town by John Cougar Mellencamp, and it goes to preset number 221, which is my acoustic piezo preset. So you'll notice it's song number 9, it's called Small Town, but the name in the XFX is AC Piezo. So it's really important to import that XFX preset list so that you know what these numbers are in the XFX represent. Bad Case, it's called Bad Case, this is the same stuff. Here's one, Green River, Get Enough, right over here. Can't Get Enough Love, that's Bad Company, I believe. That's the actual name of the preset, Can't Get Enough, in my XFX. Of course, that won't all fit in 7 characters, so that's pretty important. How you select different presets when you're in song mode, you can have up to 15 different presets per song. I'm not going to go into teaching that now. reference your MFC 101 manual for that. The way you select these presets, just clicking in a cell will bring up the pull down list, and you can select one of these over here. This particular patch in the AxeFX, that name in the AxeFX is the Jupiter 2. The other thing you can do, if you right click your mouse, as I mentioned before, you can show the nugget, which is some online help about this, or you can show the AxeFX preset list, which we actually saw a little bit earlier. You can pop that up, and now you can actually see what these are. Whichever cell you have selected, if you change, if I click on this for example, it will automatically insert it into the cell that is selected over here. So if I go over here, I select this one, and then I click on here, it's going to select preset number 24 in the AxeFX. If I mouse over, it shows me the actual AxeFX name for that preset. This box, you can have it automatically pop up each time you switch to the Songs tab, etc., etc. That's enough for here, since this is supposed to be an introduction, not an in-depth tutorial. Sets page. This is something I use everywhere. You can use it in so many different ways, but I use it a lot. I put my songs in here. You'll notice that my first set is just alphabetically sorted, so I have a quote-unquote set of all of my songs, and they're in alphabetical order, so they're really easy to find. If we're playing sets and somebody makes a request and we're going to switch it around, I don't have to hunt through my set back and forth looking for where is that song, or is it not in this set at all. I can go to my sorted set and just hold the next button or the up button, and it will scroll through alphabetically until I reach the one that I'm looking for. Select that, and all that preset is already configured. These are different venues that I have. I name them for different venues that I have. Blank, Johnny's Filling Station, Friendly Confines, it's a bar, sports bar, and so forth. And here'd be the set that we would play there. It's Can't Get Enough Love, Green River, Sister Golden Hair, Take It Easy, Hard to Handle, blah blah blah, Small Town. Again, these songs are driven from here. Whatever you've entered here in these 100 songs that you have, 100 songs you have over here, are what you're going to have in your sets over here. And you select them simply by clicking in any cell that you want to for a given set. Let's say the Apopka set. I want to do Baby Blue in that location. I don't want to start with Bad Case of Loving You. I want to start with Jamaica by Led Zeppelin. And I want to follow that up with Long Long Way From Home by Foreigner. And so you can select your songs like that from a list. Another thing that's really handy here is that there's a pop-up list. Again, show nugget, which is always your help. Pop-up songs palette. So this just makes it really easy for you, where you have a palette of all the songs, your 100 songs that you've entered, ordered in alphabetical order, and you can see them right here now. You can actually just drop them. I want to put Baby Blue back there. I want to start with Baby Blue. It's telling me that Baby Blue is already in the set in position number 44. If I pick a song, let's say Tequila Sunrise, and put that in there, it's not going to give me a duplicate message. So now I can actually build my set simply by dragging songs into the spot in the set that I wanted. It makes it really very quick. If you want this palette to pop up every time you go to the Sets tab, just click the Enable Automatic Pop-Up of Songs palette, and when you navigate away from this tab, it'll automatically pop down. So the whole program really is geared around streamlining and making the workflow very simple for you without a lot of unnecessary keystrokes and so forth. So the MIDI channel configuration, which is the MIDI and chants page over here, this is really for annotation. On MIDI channel 1, typically you have your AxeFX. So I'll put my AxeFX in here. Remember I said I had my Korg on channel 3. I just named my Korg over here. Let's have a look on 5. I think I had a Roland on channel 5. A Roland on channel MIDI channel number 5. If they have display offsets, they'll typically be 0 or 1, depending on how you've got them set up. So your MIDI channel counts, or your preset counts, will go from 0 to the maximum of that device, or 1 to the maximum plus 1 of that device. Some other MIDI settings is your AXFX MIDI channel. Like I said, by default it's 1, but you're at liberty to change that. If you have some other equipment on 1 and you don't want to change it, you can put the AXFX on a different MIDI channel. So all commands sent to the AXFX will go down the channel you select here. MIDI receive channel. Remember, we mentioned earlier that the MFC 101 is capable of receiving program change commands. This is where you choose which channel it's going to receive those on. It can be off, typically, which I have chosen, which means we're not receiving program change commands, or it can be any one of the channels you want. Receive program change, you can turn that feature on or off, or use the map. So I don't receive any program changes at all, so it's off. I can turn it on, which means when they come in, whatever the program change number is, that's the preset my MFC 101 will select, or it says use the map that I have, which we looked at over here. So that would be this map that we described earlier. By default it's a 1-to-1, but you're at liberty to change it. If I select map there, any program change commands that come in will have this map applied, and then that preset will be selected in the MFC 101. Use port MIDI. Now depending on the equipment you have, the MFC 101, they all have a MIDI port. Most of them have an expansion port, which is the RJ45, or what is commonly known as the Twisted Pair Ethernet or Ethercon connector. And now of course there's a FazLink as well, which is looks like an XLR connector, proprietary to Fractal Audio Systems. The FazLink does not show up in this list because of the equipment that I have connected to it. It doesn't have a FazLink connector in it. Okay, enough on that. Global external pedals and external switches. That's what this is. So we'll see over here external switches and global expression pedals. So really this is the external switch hardware type. So if I have an external switch, is it a toggle switch or is it a momentary? Remember we described what those do. Toggle switch, you press it once, you want it will make the connection. When you press it a second time, it will break the connection. A momentary makes the connection. It's like pressing the horn in your car. It only makes the noise as long as you hold it connected, and when you release the pedal or release the switch, then it will stop the sound. So it tells us for hardware switch number 1, what kind of hardware is that? Is it momentary or is it toggle? I actually have a momentary there. I prefer momentary switches for reasons I won't go into here. So this tells us, is it a toggle hardware? So our global switch, we're configuring it to read its initial value from the hardware. In my case, it's on channel 1. It's control change number 97. Anytime I press this external pedal, it's going to send a control change 97. It's probably the wah block on off, because I use my switch, my pedal number 1, or expression pedal number 1, and its switch in it to turn off and on the wah block in a given preset. In all my presets by default, I can override it in any given preset by default. Globally, my external switch number 1 is going to turn the wah block 1 on or off with CC97, and these are the values. Here's my expression pedal. It's showing me that's also going to be on channel number 1, and it's going to be control change number 11. It gets its initial value from the pedal itself. It'll actually read the value from the position of the pedal, and the minimum value it can send and the maximum value it can send. You typically won't really set these yourself. You can, but you typically won't. You'll typically use the MFC 101's calibration function. Check it, look up in your manual, MFC 101 manual, for pedal calibration, expression pedal calibration, and those values will be read from that calibration and stored in there for you. You probably shouldn't change them, but you can if you want to. You'll notice here's the expression pedal calibration. It'll notice these are the actual values from my pedals. So I have a pedal, my wah pedal, my expression pedal, external pedal number 1, the maximum position is actually 116. When I floor it, it sends 116. It won't send 127. That's just the nature of the pedal. I could adjust the switch a little bit and change it a little bit, but it's fine. Once the MFC 101 knows what the min and max are, it can perfectly calibrate exponentially or in a linear fashion all the values between the two, the min and the max points. Won't go into this more over here. We're almost done. We're doing pretty good. This particular file, you'll notice, came from a Mark 1 or a Mark 2 pedal with firmware 2.18. That's pretty old, and the Mark 1 and Mark 2 don't have a FASLink in them, which is why it didn't show up in the list here. It shows use port MIDI or expansion because it's a Mark 1 or Mark 2. It shows we're connected to an AXFX2 over here. We could be connected to an AXFX XL, which would allow us to select more presets and so forth. Or we could select none. If we selected none here, it's telling us that we're not using the MFC 101 to control an AXFX at all, but some other piece of equipment. Or if we are controlling an AXFX device, then we're going to manually choose all the settings that we do. So the pre-programmed goodies like all the instant access switches, turning on and off effect blocks and scenes, all of those defaults that it comes with will not be in play, and pretty much all of our switches are now global purpose instant access switches. I'm going to put this back to where it was for my device. What's the performance mode? Again, read the manual to know what these are. Performance mode is preset, which means when you're up and down switches, you press them, you'll switch presets. Song mode, you'll change the preset within a song. Or when you're in a set, remember I had a set called sorted. I had a set called friendly for friendly confines. Each time I press the up and down, it's going to select the next song in a set, so it'll get the next preset in a given set. Here's my display offset. Is it 1 or is it 0? I like 0. Same. This matches my AXFX. You should have these matching. You really should. If you change one, you should change the other. Otherwise, your MFC 101 controller will display, for example, preset number 21, and when you look on your AXFX2, it's going to show your preset 22, and you won't know why, and that's because your AXFX has a different display offset than your MFC 101, and that will confuse you, so don't bother doing that. This is just display contrast. Oops, sorry about that. It's always at 10. At least I use it at 10. It works fine. That's the default. Leave it alone unless you have a compelling reason to change it. First preset switch. This is a new parameter that was introduced in firmware 3.06, I believe. Again, read the manual on this. This can confuse you. You can have your instant access switches start at switch number 1 and your presets start at number 7. And you could have a bank size of 3. So 7, 8, and 9 would then be preset switches, and then 10 through 17 would again be instant access switches. This will really confuse you, so read the manual, be sure that you understand that. There are also some really good videos and wikis and blogs by people like Yek on the forum, or Chris Matsukuri. He's got some great videos and instructional information. Also Cooper Carter. There's some great stuff out on YouTube educating you on the MFC 101 and the AXFX. I strongly recommend you take a look at those. They'll save you hours of frustration. Bank style, again, I'm not going to bother to teach that here. Bank limit and bank wrap, I'm not going to bother to teach those here. You can say wrap around when you reach the end, or stop and don't wrap around, which means you'd have to back up one at a time again. Looper control, do you want short or long presses on the button, or do you want looper turned off? Edit switch mode, short or long press. I'd probably recommend long press if you're performing live. So basically that means you have to actually hold the button depressed for a full second or maybe 2 seconds before it will enter edit mode. If you're performing and you accidentally hit the edit switch If it's on short press, the moment it feels the press of the switch, it'll switch into edit mode, and I can screw up your pedal and your performance and make it do really strange things instead of controlling your XFX. So switch it to long, which means if you hit it by accident, it won't automatically switch into edit mode, and you won't be editing your MFC 101 in the middle of a set. It means you have to hold it down, which means it's intentional before it will actually switch to edit mode. These are your LEDs. Again, you should read the manual, how you want your LEDs to behave on the MFC 101. Tuner on, tempo, same thing again. Read these again. Read them off your manual. Again here, read the manual on the transmit switch link on-off message. Short version is, if this is enabled, you can select a group of up to 2 groups of up to 5 switches which are mutually exclusive. In other words, if we've got switch number 11 and switch number 14 and switch number 13 and switch number 12, so we've got switches in any order 11 through 12. If I press any one of these on my MFC 101, the others are turned off. Only one of these switches can be on at a time. If I turn any of these switches on, the others are off. So you can't select more than one of these switches at any given time. And if you're not using it, don't. Sorry about that. If you're not using the feature, turn that off. We've seen the extras page. You'll notice down here is the currently opened file sysx dump. The name is here, and the name of the currently open XFX preset list is also displayed here. If you've had errors of any kind, they'll be displayed in here, and that is all she wrote. That's the overview of the MFC Edit program. It's very quick. Oh, one thing we didn't do actually was make some changes over here. Let's make some changes to this file. Okay, let's do that. If I went to exit now, it would warn me, do I want to save them before I exit? So that's just nice. You don't trash that by mistake. There are power features, lots. I mean, right click on any of these menus and you get all kinds of power features that you can do. The thing we didn't do was send the file back. So let's say we're done editing, we've made all the changes we want to do. Let's send this back to our MFC 101 and program in all the changes we made. It remembers the file. We can change it, but it remembers which MIDI interface we used. We can change it, and we can send it back. So it's got the interface and everything we want to do, and I want to send it now. So let's click the send. I want to send this file back on the same interface we read it in on, send. And once again, it gives us a prompt with instructions. Which buttons do we need to press? It says follow these steps below to start the transmission. Press the edit switch on the MFC 101, then press the setup switch, and we follow the sequence. So let's go do that. And then just press the OK button. Press the enter switch, which I've already done that. Then it says press the OK button below to begin the transmission. So let's press OK. And now we see pretty much the inverse happening. It's now transmitting the file with all of our changes back to the MFC 101 pedal. Once again, the progress bar updates with the percentage, and it shows us which part of the configurations it's sending. This little LCD display mimics exactly what the MFC 101 pedal is doing. If you glance down at your MFC 101, you'll see that the LCD display displays exactly this as well, presets 2, and pretty soon you'll get songs, you'll get sets, you'll get external devices, you'll get all of those things that we captured are being sent back to the MFC 101, sending sets, songs. It doesn't take very long. As you can see, this is pretty quick. It's 45-50 seconds. If you've got a really slow interface going or something, it may take a minute, but that's it. It's all done. Once again, had there been any errors, it would have aborted the transmission, and it would have presented some debug information in the window. In addition to that, on the extra screen, if we had transmission errors, they would be listed in here, which would help the tech support group at Fractal Audio to debug what your problem was and actually help you to see what the problem was. And that is all she wrote. Hope you have lots of fun with your MFC 101, and hope you find it easy to configure and change around on a whim with this program. It's so easy to do. You get the best use out of your MFC 101 and therefore even better use out of your AxeFX. Thank you.